Y'all need to get on this drama because child, it is piping hot. So word on the streets is that Steve Harvey's boo thing, Marjorie, has a super shady past with drugs, and she was even investigated by the FBI for her suspected involvement in a drug ring. And now an insider, and when I say insider, I actually mean Marjorie's ex-husband, Jim Townsend, who was the leader of the drug ring in question, is now spilling all the tea in a messy, messy book. Y'all better get ready because things just got real. Now, when people talk about Marjorie, they talk about her as Steve's wife. You know, the love of his life, the fashionista, and some messy people even call her a gold digger. I don't know about that, but what I find interesting is the fact that people don't really talk about her past life before she got with Steve. I mean, it's not like she just dropped out of the sky one day with 3 grown kids and made Steve adopt them and treat them better than his own biological kids. Marjorie has always kept her past life secret, and now we know why. It's because her past is shadier than the forest, because she has a lot of secrets that she doesn't want anyone to know. Well, unfortunately for her, her ex-husband is back and he is ready to expose her real self to the world. I know that Marjorie has always been dragged online, but it's mostly because Steve cheated on his then wife, Mary, with Marjorie and left Mary penniless so he could be with Marjorie. Then there's also the fact that Steve actually met Marjorie back in 1987 when he was still a struggling comedian and was broke AF. Well, Marjorie was not all about that brokey life and chose not to pursue a relationship with him until he got his finances in order. They finally met again in 2005, and this time Steve was already rolling in Hollywood millions, so Marjorie was more than happy to become his wife, and this is why people think that she's a gold digger, because she was not willing to grow with Steve, but she came back when he was already made. Talk about a material girl. Anyways, in those years between 1987 to 2005, our girl Marjorie was super busy with not one, but 2 marriages, as well as being tied to 2 drug rings. She was married to Jim Townsend, who ran a drug ring. They had a child together, Morgan, and by the time he was arrested in 1992, she was pregnant with their second child, Jason. Jim was busted for trying to buy 40 kilos or 88 pounds of nose candy, if you know what I mean. Anywho, he got busted, and at the time, Marjorie acted like a cute, unsuspecting housewife who had no idea that her husband was involved in that type of business, and she got away with the act, especially because she was heavily pregnant at the time. I mean, who on earth would believe that a pregnant woman was involved in running a drug ring? Well, just because Jim ran a drug ring doesn't mean that he was a rat, so he didn't snitch on Marjorie. It probably has something to do with the fact that she was carrying his baby, and he also didn't want their first child to go without both parents, so he took the fall and our girl walked free. The FBI and the DEA both suspected that she was more than the cute housewife, and they actually investigated her for her alleged roles in the ring, but they couldn't find anything against her. Also, Jim allegedly cut a deal with the authorities to leave Marjorie out of it. Anywho, Jim took the fall, and in 1992, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Marjorie stuck by his side for a while, had their second child, and 5 years later, she bailed on him. She filed for divorce, took the kids, and went straight to another man, and this is where things get even spicier. She got married a second time to a man named Donnell Woods, and the wild part about this is that he was also a drug dealer who got busted by the authorities. It's also believed that he is Lori's biological father, but nobody has come out to confirm it. But seriously, how on earth did she think that it was a great idea for her to jump into a marriage with another drug kingpin where she barely escaped going to jail the first time around? We gotta hand it to Marjorie, she has done things that most of us wouldn't even dream of doing. Now, one interesting thing that people have pointed out is the fact that Marjorie probably goes after those men because they were rich and could afford to give her the lavish lifestyle that she wants. I'm not saying that's true, but then she did choose Jim over Steve when Steve was still broke, and then she married another dealer, so this theory is not as crazy as it sounds. But y'all want to know what is really insane about this? It's the fact that her second husband, Donnell, is cousins with her first husband, Jim. Child, talk about keeping it in the family. Divorcing a man when he's in jail, then marrying his cousin is just wild. And it's more than enough to make a man salty. And it looks like Jim is more than salty because he is out for revenge. Jim was sentenced to life in prison, but he only served 26 years because he got a presidential pardon from President Obama. He's been out of prison for a while, and when I tell y'all that he is still bitter at Marjorie, he has held on to this grudge for more than 30 years, and now he is ready to let it all out and make some cold cash while doing so. He has written a tell-all book where he is going to be spilling all the tea about his life, his little shady business that sent him to prison, and of course, Marjorie is going to be a part of this. He spoke to Radar Online about the book, saying, "I wrote 2/3 of the book in prison. I have no allegiance to Marjorie. She showed her hand. I'm going to tell my story. It don't matter if she knows about it." It looks like Marjorie has a lot to be worried about because it sounds like Jim is not going to be holding back anything in this book, and she just might find herself exposed.
So the book isn't really like anything that's gonna like kind of bash her or make people be like, "Dang, Marjorie did all that."
Yes and no. I'm telling you, you know how life is.
Right.
You know how life is. I'm just gonna put the truth out there.
Right.
And I'm putting the truth out there, I should say. And you know, just let people be the judge.
He also recently unveiled the memoir titled Snakes in the Garden.
Pow! There it is, baby.
There's also an excerpt from the book saying, "The sight of Morgan always brought joy to my heart. She was truly the apple of my eye and the only reason I hadn't killed her mother. As Morgan couldn't understand what was happening, she turned her attention back to me and locked eyes with me, giving me a look that said, 'Come and get me, Daddy.'" Yeah, certainly doesn't sound like he's going to be taking the trouble of portraying Marjorie in a positive light. And like I said, she needs to be worried because this man is out for blood. And there's going to be a crazy amount of drama when the book eventually drops. It's going to be released in July 2023. And guess what? The book has 3 parts and he is charging $29.99 for the first one. Must be some really spicy tea for him to charge $29.99 and have it in 3 parts. But I wouldn't be surprised if Marjorie and Steve file a lawsuit so he doesn't release the book and embarrass her. It's not the first time they're going to be doing something like that because they also filed a gag order against Steve's second wife, Mary, when she tried exposing Steve to the media.
He took my Winton. Took my Winton from me. He turned my son against me with all the emails and the text messages and the different things that were that I was finding out about. I thought the least that he could do, make me whole at the end of it. He left. He just left, walked out the door. Once he realized that I was going to divorce him, went right to New York, to our apartment that we had there, which I never got to see, by the way, and then she joined him there.
People left comments saying, "Steve Harvey, stop talking about other people's families when you married Memphis, Tennessee's biggest female drug dealer, Marjorie Miss COKE. Y'all surprised about Lori Harvey, but her mom Marjorie has an ex who was a kingpin and left him and went to be with his cousin who's also a drug dealer and had kids by both. Come on, y'all. That family been about that life. They just look good and classy with it. And this could end up being karma for Steve for what he did to his wife before Marjorie, Lady Heroin. It has been alleged that he left that wife broke, homeless, and took her son. I don't believe this will come to a good end because no evil will be blessed. Can't wait for the book. Ooh, honey, it's going to be a wild day when that book finally drops and when we find out all of Marjorie's dirty secrets. But in the meantime, y'all need to catch up on the drama in this next video.